Revealed, 7 bone-chilling, eerie truths from the dead of night, forbidden stories exposed. The wind whispered through the trees of Maplewood, carrying eerie secrets of a town wrapped in picturesque normality. But it wasn't always that simple. Sarah Johnson stood at the edge of her new world, her stomach knotting with unease. Just beneath those well-kept lawns and friendly smiles lay a chilling truth. Curious neighbors leaned in, sharing hushed whispers about shadows that danced at dusk, and how they flickered out of sight just as soon as one dared to look. As Sarah peered into the depths of the gathering twilight, she sensed she'd just crossed into a realm where darkness crept under every crack and crevice, shadows in the corners of her new home played tricks on her eyes. Was that a fleeting movement? Just the wind? Or something more sinister? Late at night, when the world quieted down, she could hear whispers soft enough to make the hair on her arms stand on end, echoing her deepest fears. And then there were the words written with a ghostly hand on her bathroom mirror, "Help us." They sent shivers down her spine, cold as the frost creeping under her window panes. As the days rolled on, eerie tales of the 7 rose like disturbing smoke from the ovens of warm homes, feeding into the fabric of the community. One neighbor shared how her youngest child had seen a skull-like figure beckoning from a shadowy corner of the yard. Another spoke cautiously of the late-night gatherings by the town square, swaying like hypnotized figures drawn helplessly to the unknown, a ritualistic dance of despair that had haunted the town for generations. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing night, Sarah felt her pulse quickening. Each shadow seemed to tug at her heart, echoing the absence of her husband lost, presumed dead. She realized she wasn't just battling her fears but rather some darker force that thrived on grief, feeding off despair like a vulture. If she was to protect Lily and Jack, she had to decipher the mystery hidden beneath the surface of Maplewood. Sarah's heart raced as she stumbled upon a dusty diary left behind by a previous homeowner, its pages frail, filled with unfolds about a tragedy long forgotten. Those who dig too deep, it read, risk awakening the restless spirits of the 7. The weight of despair loomed heavier than ever, a price, she thought, for something unknown but undoubtedly terrifying. As she rallied the townsfolk, hoping to weave the strands of their lived experiences into a chain strong enough to confront their unseen enemy, a sense of dread suffocated the air. "They won't let us leave," a voice echoed from the gathering, the realization that they might be ensnared, forever entwined in this darkness, threatening to unravel the bonds of survival. And as shadows pulsed around them that fateful night, lights flickered ominously, trees bowed as if to plead, and ghastly sightings flickered in and out of existence. Sarah stood, heart in throat, teetering on the edge of insanity. As the blood-curdling wails rent the atmosphere, the ground trembled beneath them, inching toward a climax only whispered about in nightmares. What would it cost to put the spirits to rest? Would they confront the past or be swallowed whole? The laughter of her children echoed ominously, a haunting reminder of what was at stake. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest like a war drum, drowning out the screaming wind that enveloped Maplewood. She glanced at Lily and Jack, their faces wide with dread. They clung to her, their eyes shimmering with unshed tears, shadows dancing across their small frames. The air was thick with an unshakable anxiety, a sure sign that something ancient and angry was waking. "Stay close, kids," she whispered, trying to imbue her words with an assurance she didn't feel. She scanned the faces of her neighbors, all pale, all terrified, their collective fear palpable in the trembling silence. "I know we're scared, but if we stand together," but her voice trailed off as the ground buckled beneath them, a low growl rumbling up from the earth. The trees arched toward them, branches twisting like skeletal fingers, as if warning them to flee. A figure emerged from the fog, its outline shrouded in darkness, towering over the group. Eyes pale and hollow seemed to pierce right through Sarah's soul. The spectral presence was unmistakably one of the seven. No, no. Sarah gasped, instinctively pulling her children behind her. The figure dissipated into nothingness and reformed a breath away, moving with fluid grace. A whisper fell from its lips, a sound that chilled Sarah to her core. "Help us, join us," the townsfolk murmured, their faces flickering with doubt. "We can't," one man said, his voice shaky. "We fight this. We don't belong to them." But the darkness stirred, slicing through their defenses. Sobs broke out, and Sarah tightened her grip on her children, fear clawing at her insides. "Don't listen. We're stronger than them," she yelled, desperate to keep their fractured resolve intact. Lily clutched Sarah's hand, her voice trembling. "Mommy, what is it? What do they want?" The innocent question sliced through the heavy air, striking guilt into Sarah's heart. She wished she had answers, wished she could shield them from this torment. Suddenly, a flicker of hope illuminated the shadows, a shadowy shape like a door, appearing in the darkness. The truth, it beckoned, a call filled with urgency. "Find the key." The aura surrounding it shimmered, almost inviting. "Wait!" Sarah cried, instinctively stepping forward. "What does that mean? What key?" But the apparition faded back into the gloom, leaving only chilling whispers swirling in its wake. The crowd was shifting, an unease tightening around them like chains. "If we don't do something," someone muttered, "we won't make it through the night." The words hung heavy in the air, punctuated by a gust of wind that felt like fingers trailing across their skin. Against the chaos, Sarah felt an undeniable urgency to uncover the truth hidden within her new home, the mystery of the seven. The diary, ominous as it was, could hold answers if people would band together. "Listen!" she shouted, her voice trembling but assertive. "The diary talks about those who came before us. There's a chance to find out what must be done. We have to see it through." The crowd paused, a flicker of skepticism transformed into growing curiosity. The air felt charged like static before a storm. What if the answers lay in digging deeper into the town's dark past? What if they could uncover a means to liberate not just themselves but the spirits too? As they nodded, a collective determination seemed to form in the air. With renewed purpose, they moved together toward her house, where the diary waited patiently on the table, but the shadows clung to their heels, an angry breath whispering just behind them, "You won't escape." As Sarah crossed the threshold, one final thought pierced her mind: would the truth set them free or seal their fate? And just then, a scream shattered the night. Someone had vanished into the darkness. The scream echoed harshly, a slap against the darkness. Sarah spun around, dread pooling in her stomach. The crowd surged as one, a wave of panic, all eyes darting to where the agonized cry had sliced through the air. Jack clung to her waist, his small body trembling, while Lily pressed her face into Sarah's side, fighting tears. "Mommy, please." Jack whimpered, his voice raw with fear. "It's okay, I'm here," she forced out, though her heart raced in a different rhythm. The shadows swirled, deepening the night and filling it with menacing whispers. "Who was it?" Sarah demanded, trying to hold on to the sliver of control. "Mark." "It was Mark," a woman shouted, pointlessly looking for clarity in chaos. The spark of recognition set fire to fear. Mark was a neighbor, someone who had stood with them moments ago, his face twisted in disbelief at the horror surrounding them. "Where did he go?" Another voice added, thick with desperation, but nobody knew. The air had turned oppressive, an unseen weight pressing down, which only intensified as a chill danced across their skin. "We have to keep moving," Sarah shouted, pushing through to break the stifling fear. A few heads nodded in uneasy agreement, but the shadowy figures seemed to lurch closer, as if drawn by their fear. "Inside. Now!" Sarah urged, feeling the urgency of the moment crash against her like the oncoming storm. They stumbled into the house, a mass of bodies flinging the door shut, the sound echoing like a funeral toll. Yet the shadows were relentless, pressing against the walls, seeking a way in with malevolent persistence. Inside, the dim light unveiled the diary resting on the table, a beacon in this storm of darkness. Sarah rushed over, her fingers trembling as she opened it. The first page was a series of scrawled notes, frantic and disjointed, detailing the town's dark history, the legend of the Seven. It didn't take long for her to latch onto a phrase, "He who holds the key shall unlock the truth, but it comes at a cost." "What does that mean?" Lily asked, her voice muffled against Sarah's hip. "I don't know, sweetie," she whispered, flipping through the pages faster. "But we need to find answers." As Sarah absorbed the words, a flash of motion caught her eye outside the window. Something lingered at the edge of the woods, a figure, cloaked in darkness, its hollow eyes reflecting any stray light. Her stomach twisted. "We can't stay here," she said, but no one moved. "What if we just wait?" a neighbor suggested, voice thin. "No." Sarah shot back, with an intensity that felt almost foreign. "If we wait, more will vanish. We need to act." Suddenly, the lights flickered, as if mirroring the tension in the air. A loud bang echoed from outside, followed by a low, guttural roar that sent icy fingers creeping up her spine. "Unlock the truth," she muttered to herself, desperate to decode the message within the pages. Was there truly a key, a way out hidden in these pages? Tension coiled tighter as fear and hope wrestled for dominance. The townspeople, their faces pale, began to shift uneasily, murmuring their doubts. "What do we do with this then?" someone asked, voice trembling. Just then, a crash shattered the stillness. The door splintered as something crashed into it. "Find the key!" Sarah yelled, and her heart thudded fiercely. Time was running out, the air thickened as the energy shifted, dark shapes pooling around them. Would they have the courage to face whatever was outside, or would they become yet another whisper in the shadows? "Now!" Sarah shouted, rallying her neighbors. "We fight back. Together." But as they rushed toward the door, the figure outside started to move, slipping through the cracks of the night, leaving a chill that promised unthinkable horrors. In that moment, Sarah realized, the battle was not just for their lives, but for their very souls. As the door buckled under the weight of the darkness, Sarah took a deep breath and braced herself. What awaited them on the other side could change everything or finish them once and for all. The door cracked open with a deafening groan, splintering wood echoing eerily in the pocket of darkness. Sarah's heart raced as she pushed herself forward, eyes locked on the creeping shadow that threatened to swallow them whole. Desperation tinged the air, increasingly thick with an imminent sense of dread. "Get back!" she barked, pushing Jack and Lily behind her. She was no hero, but she felt the weight of obligation settle on her shoulders, an urgency running through her veins like wildfire. The crowd hesitated, a tangled mass of fear frozen in indecision. In that heartbeat of silence, the shadow solidified, looming menacingly against the backdrop of the moonlit night. It was big, too big. As it crept closer, the hollow eyes reflected flickering light with a terrible hunger, widening in anticipation. With every inch, the weight of its presence seemed to sap away the human spirit, leaving nothing but a paralyzing fear. "Clutch the diary!" Sarah shouted, desperately reminding others to remember the small light of hope in their midst. "Unlock the truth. There's a way to stop this." She clutched it tightly, the pages rustling violently against her hold. "Sarah, what do we do?" A neighbor's voice trembled, wavering as the shadow unfurled like smoke across the floor, inching toward them. "We find the key," she cried, voice cracking as dread bubbled over. "But we'll need to buy time. Lily, Jack, stay close." In a single, fluid motion, Sarah dashed forward to grab a nearby candlestick, wielding it like a weapon, though her hands quaked with uncertainty. The shadow shifted, as if aware of her movement, an almost tangible malice radiating from its center. With a sudden surge, the crowd reacted. Adrenaline flickered through the air, igniting a spark of resolve among the paralyzed neighbors. They rushed toward the door, fear morphing into determination. Together! Sarah yelled again, rallying the bravest among them. If we stand united, we can push it back. Her voice echoed, becoming a battle cry. They charged forward, but the shadow remained undeterred, swallowing everything in its path. Then, an unholy sound erupted from within the darkness, a distorted echo of Mark's scream from moments before, twisting and turning into a nightmarish wail that echoed in their minds. It seemed to sap the very air from Sarah's lungs, leaving her gasping. "Stop!" she yelled, panic threading through her voice. The diary had mentioned the 7. We have to. The ground beneath them shook, and the energy morphed. An unseen force tried to drag them backward, shadows forcing their way in, shrieking angrily. "Find the key!" Sarah urged, desperation carving her features into taut lines. Just as hope flickered in her mind, Lily's small hand, trembling but fierce, reached for the diary. "Mommy, look!" The girl had found markings on the edge of a page. She opened a pattern, an outline drawn in haste, sparkling dimly under the flickering lights. It looked like a key. "That's it." Sarah's voice trembled with a spark of hope. "That's the key." But then a roar faded effortlessly into a menacing chuckle. The shadow shifted, contorting into a figure that resembled the very people they'd lost, faces twisted in eternal agony, smeared memories of what they once were. No, Sarah felt a cold horror pooling in her chest. "What are you?" "It's your turn," the figure hissed, the words oozing malice. "Time to play." Panic erupted within the crowd. Sarah refused to let despair take over. In that split second, amidst the chaos, she raised the candlestick, steeling her resolve. "We will fight. We will survive. Together." But uncertainty gnawed at her. Would they defeat this harbinger of darkness, or had they stumbled upon something far beyond their understanding? As the shadow curled closer, drawn by their fear, the flickering lights finally extinguished, plunging them into a depth of darkness so thick it felt suffocating. In that abyss, a voice eerie and soft whispered, "Are you ready to reveal the truth?" The air crackled with tension, fear coiling inside them as the chilling question hung in the silence, leaving Sarah to wonder just what they were about to uncover and at what cost. The darkness was so heavy it pressed against Sarah like a weight, suffocating her breath. Panic rippled through the crowd, their hushed murmurs creating a chorus of fear that blended with the shadows. "What do we do now?" someone whispered, the question hanging in the air like an unwelcoming fog. "Keep your eyes on the diary," Sarah shouted, forcing emotions back down her throat. She could almost sense the shadows twisting, eager to drown their resolve. "Lily, Jack, hold tight." A pinprick of light flickered from the diary, illuminating Lily's small frame, her face pale but determined. "Mommy, look!" the girl cried, her voice firm and agile amid the chaos. She pointed to the key etched in the page. "It's shining." The flicker grew, pulsing rhythmically, sparking a flicker of hope in Sarah's weary heart. But with that flame came fear. It was like a heartbeat, alive and aware, signaling their impending doom. The dark figure loomed, stretching an impossibly long arm toward them. "Faster!" Sarah urged, her voice tightening with urgency. "We need to activate the key." As the light from the diary intensified, shadows recoiled briefly, revealing glimpses of terrified faces, lost and suffering. They were memories made manifest, twisting and turning in a dance of despair. Sarah's grip tightened on the candlestick. "This is our chance." Suddenly, the shadows lunged, a chaotic wave eager to consume. An all-consuming sorrow filled the air, almost palpable, demanding to be felt. Just then, something changed. The air crackled with energy, and the image of the shadowy figure shifted. Mark's face appeared, eyes pleading, mouth opening in a silent scream. Sarah's heart shattered anew. "Mark!" Something deep inside her broke free, igniting a flame of rage. What do you want from us? Sacrifice, the whisper echoed softly, mingling with melted laughter. The shadows twisted around the outline of Mark, drowning the last remnants of hope. Determination surged through her, hot and fierce. You will not take anyone else. Not today. She raised the candlestick high, channeling the courage of every soul trapped by this horror. Stand with me, she cried, rallying her neighbors, anger catalyzing their fear into strength. With a deafening howl, the shadow recoiled as the light from the diary flared brighter. The outlines of the seven flickered, revealing faces that were once theirs, lost friends, family, haunting them like ghosts demanding release. The air vibrated with tension, the darkness swirling violently as Sarah felt something shift. Then, the dilapidated room erupted in brilliant color, a kaleidoscope born from the light. It engulfed the figures, tearing at the fabric of the shadows that tangled around them, exposing the truth that had been lurking, the twisted tales, the unspoken horrors contained in the pages of time. Now! Sarah shouted, eyes locked on Lily, who was mesmerized yet focused. You have to read it out loud. Say the words. Lily's small voice trembled, weaving around them, and as she recited the words, shadows screamed in anger. Clarity swept over Sarah as memory morphed into reality. Suddenly, the darkness lashed out, cracking like thunder. Just as Sarah began to regain hope, the sudden silence that fell was deafening. It wasn't an overwhelming force pulled at them, and just like that, Sarah felt herself slipping. The unholy chuckle returned, echoing in her mind. Who will pay the price? It taunted, embodying the dreadful fate that awaited them all. Sarah's heart raced as she searched her mind for answers. A question came unbidden to her lips, lingering and dark. What truth will we give up to escape this nightmare? As the shadows closed in, a final doubt flickered. What if the key did not just unlock a way to survive, but a door to their own ruin? The abyss loomed, waiting with bated breath. The darkness lunged again, a beast with no form, hungry for flesh and souls. Sarah's breath quickened, a visceral response to the suffocating terror. Lily! She screamed, gripping her daughter's shoulders. Don't stop reading. The diary gleamed, the light threatening to fade as shadows clawed at its brilliance. Each word Lily uttered seemed to weaken the very fabric of the despair surrounding them, but at a cost. Sarah could feel it. The air hung thick with a tension so palpable it stung her skin, as if the shadows were waiting for their moment to strike. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A cacophony of whispers filled the room, every shadow sheathing stories of those who had vanished, lives consumed by the very darkness that swirled around them. They're angry. Jack shouted, his voice trembling, eyes wide with fear. Keep going. Sarah urged, her heart pounding in rhythm with the rising chaos. She could feel the energy flow from the diary, penetrating the dark like a knife, but it cast a chilling realization: they were fighting not just for survival, but for the very essence of their souls. Lily's voice surged, shaky but resolute. Through the dark, the light must shine, open the path with truth divine. The diary pulsed violently, the shadows recoiling as though burned. But the malevolent laughter echoed louder, mocking their struggle. What do you see? It jeered, the darkness swirling tighter, obscuring them from hope's embrace. What do you know? Images flooded Sarah's mind, memories of laughter with Mark, time spent together in the sun, their daughter's giggles filling the air. Each cherished moment wrapped in light, only to be torn asunder by the looming dread. She glanced at Lily, her daughter bathed in the soft glow, and a surge of love ignited within her. We're not afraid. With urgency, she lifted the candlestick, ready to join Lily's chant. Speak truth, my love. We expose the lies. The words poured from her, merging with Lily's voice, two hearts matching in a rhythm of defiance. The shadows shrieked as the combined force shattered the silence, piercing the veil of darkness. Imprints of those who had been lost materialized around them, eyes vacant but searching. Help us! Came their poignant pleas, echoing hauntingly through the air. Expose the core. Sarah shouted, the desperation clawing at her voice. Every truth must see the light. Suddenly, the diary erupted, a brilliant flash threatening to blind them, sweeping all shadows before it. Sarah felt the energy shift, pulling, tugging, as black wraiths fought back. Each moment was a battle not just for escape, but for the very truth they had buried. "Mommy!" Lily gasped. "I see them." "See who?" "The seven." A disembodied voice echoed, chilling Sarah to the bone. The faces of those who once occupied their lives surged forth, memories flashing like strobe lights, revealing the anguish behind their traumatic end. Forgotten truths lay bare in that split second, a tapestry woven with doubt, fear, and the last unyielding thread of hope. There was a gasp from the crowd, a collective shudder that rippled through them, recognizing the horror of their own potential fall. "What if we can't save them?" Jack murmured, wide-eyed, paralyzed by the truth that clawed at him. A rumble filled the air as shadows roared in fury, the atmosphere thickening like fog. Sarah braced herself, an inner strength flooding her system. "We will not falter. We will not let fear claim us." As the final words echoed out, the shadows tightened their grip, their hissing whispers rising into a crescendo. "You think you can escape? Darkness always claims its due." The world shifted, and in less than a breath, the ground plummeted beneath her feet, an abyss yawning wide. Sarah grabbed Lily tighter, her heartbeat thundering louder than the chaos. As they fell, one desperate thought burned in her mind: what price would they truly pay to unlock the secrets bound within the diary, and could anyone truly survive the revelations that awaited them? The chasm loomed deeper still, dark and hungry, as they tumbled toward an uncertain fate. They hurtled through the blackness, the air thick with dread and the metallic tang of fear. Gravity held no mercy, and Sarah clutched Lily as if she were the last tether to sanity. The feeling of falling was suffocating, stretching each second into an eternity, every heartbeat echoing like a war drum in her chest. They were weightless in a swirl of darkness, yet the collective weight of buried secrets pressed down upon them. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily's voice trembled, barely slicing through the consuming void. Sarah wanted to reassure her, to tell her that the world would turn back to light, but the bitter truth gnawed at her. Darkness didn't just consume, it changed. As they plummeted, the shadows morphed into visions, flashes of great anguish bursting like fireworks in the gloom. Sarah saw them, silhouettes of lost souls reaching out, their faces twisted in silent screams. Each face was a reminder of sacrifice, each distorted image a reminder of their own importance in this twisted game. "Stop looking," she yelled, squeezing Lily closer. "Focus on the words." In response, the diary flickered, the weight of its secrets growing heavier among the turmoil. "What does it want from us?" Jack shouted, his eyes wide with panic swirling around him. They could barely hear each other but clung to the belief that their voices could somehow create a lifeline. "Wisdom must surface," Lily shouted, her voice a lifeline in the chaos around them. "The light shall break, the truth awake." She seemed infused with a power that transcended the horror surrounding them. Inspired, Sarah urged her on, feeling Lily's conviction reignite the fight within her. Suddenly, time slowed, or perhaps it simply ceased to exist. The dark wall of nothingness began to crackle with energy, awkwardly shifting and bending as the tumbling depth shifted, revealing fleeting faces of the seven. They swirled in and out, their stares piercing through layers of despair as Sarah recognized a few. "Mark!" she gasped, anger and heartbreak flooding through her veins. "We have to save them." "Mommy, focus!" Lily exclaimed, clutching the diary, her fingers trembling but firm. "They need us." "So this is about them?" Jack added, urgency lacing his tone, mirroring her desperation for clarity. "It's not only us anymore, it was never just us. Let them breathe." Sarah urged, and as if answering her plea, the ground beneath them jerked, forcing an abrupt stop. They collided into a heavy darkness that seemed to collapse inward, a cocoon of despair shifting around them, the shadows screamed, a cacophony of wails that pulled at their psyche. "What have you done?" A whisper hissed from the abyss, dripping with malice. The ground echoed, vibrating with dark laughter. "You're too late, the truth has been buried deeper than you can imagine." The void began to flicker, revealing a wide, shimmering expanse filled with faces marked by anguish. They each bore witness to pain, hints of sorrow, stories begging to be told. "Join us," they wept in unison, voices like broken glass in her ears. "Join our fight." The word stung, sending tendrils of pain through Sarah's chest. Every secret must see the light. She screamed, her voice raw with urgency. But deep inside, her mind whirled with doubt. Could they truly face what lay ahead? Were they strong enough to carry the weight of those they lost? As if sensing her despair, the darkness roared back, a solid wave crashing against their thoughts. Shadows thickened, clawing for their minds. Shadows of the seven circled, and Sarah felt herself getting sucked into their stories like a moth drawn to flame. But instead of giving in, something inside her screamed to resist. "Stay together," she called out, pulling her family close. Memories of her loved ones flickered in her mind, each face a reminder of strength, of love, but the abyss didn't relent. A shimmer of light erupted from the diary, forcing a fissure in the oppressive weight surrounding them. If they could harness it, if they could cast the words of truth into the light, but as hope ignited, doubt flickered. What awaited them on the other side? Could the light be blinding? Could the truth be their undoing? What revelation might tear them apart next? This battle was only just beginning. The flicker grew, expanding like the dawn, illuminating the silhouettes of the seven. Sarah could almost see them, their eyes wide, desperate. It was surreal, yet within that light, every face held a sorrow she'd never known. It struck her deep, igniting abandonment and longing all over again. "Don't you dare give in," she barked, forcing her voice to slice through the remnants of doubt. "We're here to rescue you." Together, the four of them, Sarah, Lily, Jack, held hands, forming a fragile chain against the suffocating dread. The light pulsed again, and for a moment, it felt warm, anchoring them against the forces of despair. But this warmth struggled to fend off the chill. The laughter echoed, an unsettling reminder of how thin the veil between hope and despair had become. Each truth twisted. The voices shrieked, vibrating through her bones. "Unraveling all that you think you know. Prepare yourselves." Suddenly, the world twisted, the light flickering like a dying flame. The scenery around them morphed, revealing a sunken, abyssal cave. Dripping water echoed against cold, jagged rocks, and the air was thick with an ancient, rotten scent. They'd fallen deeper into darkness, yet now the darkness felt sentient. What did they mean? Jack whispered, his bravado fading. Each word floated heavy with uncertainty. What could possibly be worse than this? Lily squeezed Sarah's hand tighter. "Mommy, I don't want to lose you." "You won tea," Sarah promised fiercely, though dread gnawed at her edges. She felt it, the pulse of turmoil radiating from the depths of this cave. "Speak the names." A voice boomed, forceful like thunder, rattling the very marrow in her bones. It became a command, a beckoning that resonated in the darkest corners of her mind. "What names?" Sarah demanded, teeth gritted. It was as if her own soul was working against her, urging her to uncover details buried in the depths of her memory, to speak aloud what she had always tried to bury. "Your secrets," the voice taunted. "Your loss, your pain. Speak of them, and you may find the light. Or lose everything, forever." A flicker of recognition twisted within her. Names flashed in her mind like moths drawn to flame. Mark, her brother lost too soon, entwined in a car accident that ripped their family apart. The guilt clawed at her insides. She thought of her father's anger, the words thrown like daggers, and the dividing abyss it had created. Would the power of these confessions set them free, or strip away the remnants of hope? "Are you ready?" The voice crooned, smooth like silk but tainted with malice, edging them toward the brink. The darkness seemed to breathe, anticipating their confessions with bated breath. "Mark!" she cried, letting his name tumble from her lips. "I abandoned you. I should have saved you." Jack looked at her, horror marred with understanding. "Sarah, don't." But Lily stepped forward, her young voice steady. "I'm not afraid," she declared, conviction wrapping around her words. "I'll speak my truths too. It's okay to be scared." "Girl, no." Jack protested, but the shadows twisted hungrily around them, ready to devour any uncertainty. "Every name holds power," the echoing voice demanded, growing impatient as the walls pulsated closer. "You must expose your truths, not just your fears but your failures, your burdens." In that moment, Sarah felt a weight shift. The unspoken words began to bubble to her lips, an urge to pour out the truth that had long defined her. "I let my father drown in sorrow. I was too angry to see he needed me." As she spoke the final confession, the darkness shrieked, an agonized wail that flooded the cave and shattered the air around them. Tension crackled, and the light pulsated, a bright beacon in the whirlpool of despair they faced. "Is this the path to our freedom?" Jack asked, his face pale, hope flickering. "Or the end of it all?" Sarah whispered, dread creeping back, but they were right there, on the precipice of a life-altering truth. Would it grant them the strength they needed or seal their fate in the binding darkness? "What will happen if we keep confessing?" Lily dared to ask, her pulse quickening as the last echo faded. "Are we ready to face what's next?" And as the chilling realization seeped through their hearts, they realized that the battle ahead was not just against the darkness surrounding them, but against themselves. The shadows danced maliciously around them, weaving in and out like ghostly tendrils hungry for their next victim. Each flicker of the pale light revealed glinting eyes, unsettling smiles that belonged to neither the living nor the dead. The cries of the cave resonated, urging Sarah to face what lay buried deep within her heart. The air grew thicker, a tepid fog of dread enveloping her, squeezing her chest tighter with every passing second. "Keep going," Sarah urged herself, feeling the warmth of the light beckon them forward. "This is for them, for the 7. She clenched Lily's hand, feeling the steady heartbeat of her daughter as they stood side by side, both trembling with fear yet bolstered by a sliver of hope. Jack glanced into the depths of shadows. "What if these truths do more than set us free? What if they bind us deeper?" His voice trembled, betraying the brave facade. The pulsating darkness seemed to listen closely, eagerly poised to seize upon their vulnerability. "Each truth you reveal, we may emerge stronger," Sarah shouted, her determination flooding the cave, merging with the flickers of hope. She glanced at Jack, trying to inject him with her resolve. "We know our failures, our fears. Let us find the power in our voices. Swaggering bravado won't save us from this hell." Jack snapped back, his eyes wide, filled with desperation. Still, the restless shadows twisted, yearning, feeding eagerly on this panic. Sarah felt the tension crackle in the air, a thunderous tension that preceded lightning. "You must name the rest." The voice roared, a malignant growl that echoed through the cave and rattled their bones once more. "Your truths are tethered to the brink of existence." Lily took a deep breath, her face pale yet unwavering. "You can do this, Mommy. I believe in you." The simple words shot through Sarah like an arrow of warmth, igniting a spark among the cold shadows. Sarah knew that this was their moment, the precipice between salvation and damnation. "Okay, I'll do it," she whispered, her throat tight with trepidation. "Tell them about your brother." Jack interjected, his voice wavering. "What else were you hiding?" "Please don't," Lily implored, pulling back slightly. The dark tendrils seemed to sway, anticipating the repercussions, but the pressure surged. Memories flooded Sarah, aching reminders buried beneath her pain. "There's more, so much more," she murmured, choking back tears. My mother, she never forgave me. She thought I was the reason he died. The final revelation spilled from her lips. I feel the blame, even now. The cave erupted with an anguished wail, each rock vibrating with the unrest of her unconfessed sorrow. Sarah gasped, panic seizing her as the air exploded, gnashing teeth of darkness encircling them in a frenzy of chaos. The very stones moaned in a sinister harmony. What have we done? Jack shouted, panic flooding his voice as he craned his neck, witnessing the shadows coiling. Have we unleashed something worse? Fess up your fears. The voice bellowed again, its guttural tones thrumming through their hearts like a grim reminder of the consequences. Give voice to more. You are so close to freedom. Lily stepped forward, her small form appearing defiant against the dark, channeling strength far beyond her years. I lost my best friend. She stammered, tears glimmering in her eyes. She never got to say goodbye. Every night, I think of her and it hurts because I never told her I loved her. As each painful confession leapt into the air, the darkness howled louder, a storm of sorrow clawing at their sanity. The cave quaked violently, rocks fell, and a deafening crash resounded as if the very earth was crying out. Sweat trickled down Sarah's neck as she looked towards the golden glow that slipped further away. Do we keep confessing? Jack yelled, grappling with fear as the ground trembled. Sarah took a breath, heart pounding in her chest. What if that's the only way? What if it's the key to saving the seven? But as the shadows receded momentarily, they saw flickering shapes emerging from the darkness, whispering in despair. Faces twisted by guilt, pain, and fear closed in around them. Who are they? Lily shrieked, her youthful voice cracking under the weight of dread. Sarah's heart sank. Unspeakable truths danced just beyond their reach, but what they faced wasn't just shadows, it was a confrontation with the dead. Would they find the courage to unveil all, risk losing their lives, their sanity, their souls for freedom? With the weight of another revelation looming and the echoes pressing on their minds, she realized they had only begun to scratch the surface. But deeper still lurked the untold stories of the seven, threatening to drag them into eternal darkness. Can we bear the weight of every truth that lingers? She whispered, trembling at the thought of what lay ahead. The ground rumbled under their feet, shadows swirling, the darkness thickening like a storm of despair. Sarah's heart raced as she clung to her children, fear wrapping around her throat like a vice. They had come so far, yet the darkness still loomed, ready to strike at their resolve. Say their names. Bring their stories to light. A voice boomed, its echo piercing through the thick veil of despair that clung to them. Who are you? Sarah shouted into the void, her voice trembling but determined. What do you want from us? In answer, the shadows twisted, revealing familiar faces, haunted and hollow, filling the air with quiet cries. Mark's face appeared, twisted with sorrow. You can't run from us, Sarah. We're all connected by this pain. Her heart ached and thudded, desperate to fight the despair. I won't leave you behind. You deserve peace. The others leaned in, desperation shining in their wide eyes. Jack's small voice was barely a whisper. What do we do, Mommy? In that moment, the words from the diary pulsed in Sarah's mind. He who holds the key. She drew in a deep breath. Each of us carries burdens and fears. We have to acknowledge them. We must speak and set the truth free. Lily turned to her mother, her eyes shimmering with courage. I'm not afraid. We'll remember them. As the children spoke their truths, the walls of the cave trembled. I didn't help my friend when she needed me, Jack said, his voice quavering, but the strength of his belief bolstered him. And now she's gone. Mommy, I miss Grandma, Lily added, her eyes brimming with tears. I wish I could tell her I love her. With every word unveiled, light flickered and pulsed in the darkness, growing more intense. Something began to shift, a crack in the oppressive void. Each confession chipped away at the shadows, revealing flickers of color even in this utter blackness. Keep going, Sarah urged, feeling the power of their unity breathe vitality into the air. We have to sacrifice our fear of the past to honor those we lost. Almost instinctively, they huddled closer, retreating against the onslaught of chaos swirling around them. The darkness seemed to hiss, striking back, but the light grew brighter with every trembling and honest word released into the atmosphere. Together, Sarah shouted, voice rising above the chaos. We fight for the seven. We reclaim their souls. In a chorus of voices strong and shaky, they began to echo one another, their fears, loves, and regrets tangled among them, weaving a tapestry of light against the darkness. Mark's soft eyes and terrified essence shifted toward a gleaming clarity. I could have fought harder, he murmured, his words cutting through the dark. We all could have fought harder. The cave erupted, shadows swirling violently, pulling at the edges of their resolve. Join us, they cried, voices rising in horrifying unison. But for every cry of despair, another flicker of light emerged, illuminating their anguished faces. Each truth released transformed them. Sarah could sense it, a desperate hope, a defiance against the darkness, a fight for survival. Gritting her teeth against the shadows, Sarah pressed forward, hands gripping the diary tighter. No. We will not fall. We will reclaim our truth. With renewed strength, she focused on the diary's glow, its pulsing heart illuminating their determined faces. No more secrets. No more fear. As they spoke, the cavern began to shift dramatically, the shadows retreating into distant quarters. They found their path, a whisper echoed within the cave. You must follow. Suddenly, a blinding light exploded forth from the diary, illuminating everything in a dazzling flash. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony, disintegrating into the air. For a moment, Sarah felt weightless, as if lifted from her fear, her heart pounding with exhilaration. Keep going, Jack yelled, charging toward the light, arms outstretched. Lily followed her brother, their small figures silhouettes against the radiant glow, urging Sarah to step into the brightness. Step forward, Sarah shouted, beckoning the spirits that manifested around them. They were more than shadows now, they were memories, custodians of their past, freed into the light. Their collective truths echoed around them, vibrating through the very stones of the cave, releasing a deluge of energy. The shadows scattered, swept away like wisps of smoke into the breeze, as the power of their alliance surged forth. With one final burst of radiance, the darkness fractured, splintering into a million pieces of light and shadow mingling like the dawn. Suddenly, they found themselves back in Maplewood, standing together outside, wrapped in the soft embrace of the morning sun. The air felt lighter, the weight of despair lifted. Around them, the town stirred with life, birds chirped, children laughed, and the warmth of hope surged through their hearts. Tears streamed down Sarah's face, a mixture of relief and wonder. They were free. They had faced the darkness and emerged, battered but resilient. Lily turned to her mother, her smile wide and bright. We did it. Jack grinned, his laughter infectious. We're heroes. Sarah gathered her children close, holding them tight, feeling the warmth of their hearts against her. No, my loves. We're a family. Together, we're unstoppable. The journey had shone a light on their fears, their pain, but ultimately, it had illuminated a path toward healing, a bond forged in bravery. As they walked home, the birds sang sweetly, and the shadows of Maplewood felt lighter, no longer heavy with lingering sorrow. They had reclaimed their lives and freed the seven. In their hearts, they knew, darkness might always linger at the edges, but together, they could face any storm that may come. Now it was time to live. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.